Well, of course, I believe, not even sure how long ago it was, but I think through movies, of course. You know, I see this advertising about new formats. I see a movie coming out, probably a Marvel movie or something like that, and it's in Dolby Atmos, and I've read through maybe trade magazines about it being an immersive format. So when I remember trying to see a movie, I always looked for the Dolby Atmos room. So, and even in the States, in Atlanta, Georgia, and even coming to Tokyo, always trying to find the Dolby Atmos room. And my wife was always like, she's like, why do we always have to find look for the room with Dolby Atmos? I was like, this, because it's, it's supposed to be really cool. So I always searched out a movie theater that had Dolby Atmos. So I think, I'm not even sure which movie was the first one I saw with Dolby Atmos, but I think that's how I encountered it, was through films, of course. I think I heard about music being released specifically for Atmos, but I never really thought about of course I wanted to do it, but I never really thought it would come my way. Of course, in the last 2 years, I've kind of felt the push for music to be released Dolby Atmos, so I kind of became interested, and I had some other friends, particularly here in Tokyo, that were starting to become interested in Dolby Atmos and making their own little setups and trying stuff out. So yes, in the last 2 years, I kind of anticipated and kind of hoped to do it. So this time, I was really happy to have the chance to do a Dolby Atmos mix. Well, what I did originally, I got the offer from Universal's A&R Hata-san, and so I was, oh, okay, this is great. I get a chance to do it, but I hadn't really prepared before that, so I downloaded the Creative Suite, the Creative Suite, and you can download the trial version, and I just started going through and trying to figure it out. So I basically did most of my setup. I took my 2-channel mix and went through and set everything up and tried to route things as I thought would be cool at home and headphones, and did some kind of mixing. And I didn't have any surround reverb, so I kind of tried to set up some like pseudo 5-1 reverbs, just placing multiple reverbs in different places. And so I did the majority of the work at home, and then went to another studio and worked for like an afternoon and just listened to with the 7. I think they had 724 set up, I believe, and listening through that room, and finished it up. So did most of the work, I think, at home. For me, I mean, huge difference. That's my one concern about Dolby Atmos, is I'm not really sold on the binaural experience yet, and maybe it's just my headphones. I'm using like super old set of headphones right now, yeah, I can kind of feel some of the spaciousness and immersive aspects in headphones. But when I went to the studio, it was night and day, right? Going into the room and actually being able to really get a sense of the height and depth, in the rear, multiple rear speakers, and it was a big difference for me. So I think there is. I mean, I can tell a difference between, so the binaural experience for at least for my mix I did, I can definitely hear a difference between the 2-channel mix I did and then the Dolby Atmos mix. I can feel some movement going on behind me, and some like height information going on. So yeah, I think it definitely is still worth using headphones for the listener, and you definitely get a different experience. So yeah, I think it's totally worth it. I think the basic sound of the 2-channel mix is still intact. I think I did add some additional reverbs to try to create the front to back space. I kept my original reverbs, but I think I added a few more. I think as far as dynamics, the one thing I noticed when I went to the Dolby office, a couple of months back and like demoed a bunch of music mixes, is there was a lot more headroom in the Dolby mixes. So it felt like it had more breathing room. So with my Dolby Atmos mix, of course, I didn't put like any kind of strong limiting on there. So I let the mix breathe a little bit more. So I think that was in addition to reverb, I think that was the biggest difference, was that it wasn't quite as limited as the 2-channel mix. So I think from the research that I did before I did the mix is when you have immersive audio, when you start trying to really limit the mix and make it loud, they said I forgot what the effect they call it. It's like being inside of a can. You start feeling the weight of the sound on top of you. So like really strong limiting is kind of frowned upon. It's not really enjoyable to do that. So I think the one song I really noticed at the Dolby office, they played Jonas Brothers, the Sucker, that song called Sucker, Jonas Brothers, and that I really enjoyed that mix. It was cool. It had the impact of the 2-channel mix, but it felt like a band, and you could feel the dynamics of the band. It was really nice. So that's I kind of wanted to feel a little bit more dynamics with the Elise's Thoughts and Translation mix. So I let off on the limiting a good bit. So. With this song, I think a lot of people here think about immersive audio, and they think about sounds moving around. But for this song, it's a very simple song, right? Very, very simple. Mostly piano vocal, and only at the end of production did the producer he added a few things, that move around. She says a couple of words, and he added like cha 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 cha, that kind of thing. So there's very few cues in there for things to like move around. So I think this song is truly like an immersive song. So I tried to envelop the listener with reverb, so you feel like you're just in a big space. And then those few sounds that have some kind of movement, there's some things kind of like going, moving from one corner of the room to another, or a couple of sounds that happen there, like arpeggiator type sounds. They're kind of doing a circle. But other than that, it's really more truly an immersive type thing. It's like you're in the middle of a big room with lots of reverbs. That was my intention, to kind of make the listener feel like they were in a performance with her, with the piano singing the song. So probably less than 20 tracks. So there's a piano track, and there's another track called Piano Trails, which is basically, I think the producer basically created that piano trails from the piano track. He just created up some kind of sound design type thing. So there's that, the lead vocal, and there's 2 double lead vocals in the chorus, which you can kind of sort of hear those. And then there's a big ambience, called a big ambience track. And then there's 1 or 2 little cues when she says certain words, like a cha 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 cha, those things. And then there's 2 cellos, 1 string, like high string, and then there's 2 other sounds that kind of like arpeggiating type sounds that move around. I think that's it. I think they're all stereo. They were all 2-channel files, and then I think the rest were effects and reverb, stuff like that. I think it forced me to really make this mix different than the 2-channel mix. So okay, it's like, this is a super simple song. What do I do to create something immersive? So I really had to think, and then of course I started out the mix at home, just listening on headphones, and had to kind of create some kind of, I didn't have a 5.1 reverb and that kind of thing, so I had to use some delays and like that kind of thing to make it, deep front to back space. And then then the studio where I mixed at, it's more of a truly post studio, so they had like limited plugins. So I kind of had to really be creative and think about how I should do that. So, and I think that's kind of my philosophy with other kinds of mixes. Sometimes if you're limited with what you have, it forces you to be a bit more creative and think, okay, how do I do this? So, but yeah, with this mix, it was very simple, and I kind of had to think what to do to make it immersive and utilize all of the creative landscape that the Atmos gave me. So.